All right. Good morning, parents and family members. We are really excited that you've joined us for another installment of our webinar series. My name is Linnea Yundestead, and I am the Director of New Student and Family Programs at VCU. And it is a really exciting time on campus right now. All of our students are back, and many of the new students have joined us for the first time. And it's just a really great time to be on campus and to see all of that energy again. And so today we are going to be talking with you a little bit about how to navigate this first 6 weeks, how to be a supportive person for your student during this time. And I'm very fortunate to be joined today by Dr. Derek Hoddle from VCU Recreational Sports, who's going to share with us a lot of information about weeks of welcome, as well as just some things to keep in mind as you are supporting your student during this time. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Derek, and I will hop off the screen. And again, as always, our recording will be available after the webinar, so that if you want to refer back to it, you can visit our VCU Families Facebook page or our website, which is nsfp.vcu.edu, to access it. All right, Derek, take it away.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Derek Hoddle, as Lynn said. I'm the Director of Recreational Sports, and I'm going to run through a little bit about what your student can expect in the first 6 weeks and how you can encourage your student to get involved and to make the most of their experience. Okay, so why does getting involved matter? Well, the first thing is that this is a time of great transition for students. And so we talked about this at orientation with you as parents, but it really is a time of change for your students socially, academically, and their families, right? This is the first time that many of the students are going to be separated from you and living apart from you and having to make their own decisions. And as the students would call it, adulting. This is really that first chance that they're going to make that transition. And so that's why these first 6 weeks are really important. So we've done lots of research, both in the profession of higher education and on our actual campus. And what we know is that the first 6 weeks are crucial for students to create what we call a sense of belonging. So that sense that they are part of the institution and that they matter here and the institution cares about them. And the reason why that matters is lots of studies have shown that the reason why students don't persist to graduation, don't make it through the 4 years to get that degree, is not because they can't succeed academically. It's because they do not feel like they belong on campus. And so in that first 6 weeks, it's crucial because it helps them to feel like they are part of VCU. It also helps them to gauge in some social connectedness. So I'm going to give you some numbers that we know are true. 33% of students say stress affects them academically. 27% say that anxiety affects them academically. 20% say they have sleep difficulties that affect them academically. If you compare that to the drivers that most of us think are problems for students, alcohol use or drug use, only 4% of students say alcohol affects their academics, and only 2.9% say drugs affect their academics. So stress and anxiety, those are really the two greatest factors in what affects students' ability to navigate the classroom and to deal with being successful on campus. And so these first 6 weeks are a great time for your students to identify some behaviors that are going to assist them in dealing with stress and anxiety. And so just a couple of other quick research that we sort of root ourselves in as we think about why getting involved on campus matters is we know that the more involved students are in student organizations and the more often they use the rec center, which is where I work, the less likely they are to drop out. And so we have a center on campus called the College Behavioral and Emotional Lab, and they've done a study that will show that. We also know from the college student inventory that 72% of first-year students want help in making friends. That is the third highest area of assistance. So they really crave that social connectedness, and it's one of the things that many of your students voice as their largest concern. And when you compare that to some of the other ones, that outranks categories like anticipating academic struggles. They're far more worried about making friends as they transition to college than they are about their ability to navigate the classroom. So really, that's what these first 6 weeks are about: sense of belonging, social connectedness, identity development, and a little bit of career preparation. I know it sounds early and sounds like, wow, I don't know why I'd be thinking about that in my first 6 weeks on campus. But the reality is that they're going to start to set some behaviors that really help them to set a positive course for the next 4 years. So if they're looking for on-campus employment, now's a great time to start to do that. If they want to know where the Career Center is or do informational interviewing or worry about the LinkedIn account, these are all great times to start to look into those sort of things. So we're going to talk about that a little bit and talk about the way that your student can engage in those activities over that first 6 weeks. So the biggest one is Weeks of Welcome. So Weeks of Welcome is a 6-week program that we have on campus where your students are encouraged to engage in various types of activities and behaviors to really explore what they're interested in on campus. And so I'm going to pull up for all of us to look at the website. If you go to, you will see the URL at the top of the page. But you should be able to see guidebook.com/G/VCUWOW. And so the Weeks of Welcome, like I said, is a 6-week program. There's a guidebook that your students can download. And in that guidebook, it'll have all the instructions about how they can check in for various events. The big driver that many parents care about, obviously, is that there are prizes that can be associated with your students attending these types of events. The big one being that students who attend the requisite number of events can be entered into the grand prize drawing to win 1 semester of in-state tuition. So you can see that information right here. And the reason why we highlight these various types of experiences are we want your students to be able to explore all the different options that exist for them on campus. So your students have already started in this process. They've already downloaded the app. They've already gone to some events from Convocation to RecSports Night to the block party. So they're already engaged in this. But now what we want them to do is to keep doing those things over the next 5 weeks of school. So it really is the start of a journey. It's not the end of it when classes start, okay? And so your students already have that, but where you really can play a positive role is encouraging your students to go to those Weeks of Welcome event, to register, to make sure that they're experiencing all the different things that are offered around campus. Okay, so how can your student get involved? Well, the first one obviously is Weeks of Welcome. By participating in that, that's a great way for them to be able to explore all the different things that are offered on campus. And I'm going to highlight a few of these and show you all how to navigate on the various websites so you can track down the information for yourself. But the first one is this. If your student tells you that he or she is bored, do not believe them. If they're bored, it is a choice that they're making. On a college campus, it is the one time in their life that there are many, 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 many opportunities for students to engage in, and they're all quote unquote free because you are already paying for this through university fees or tuition or whatever that may be. So that includes things like going to the gym, joining a club, going on a hike, kayaking, climbing. They could join student media. And the one many parents care about, they can get a job. They can volunteer. They can go ahead and start to pay for their own needs, whatever that may be, through on-campus employment. And it's also a great way to start to develop their resume for their future career. So RecSports, that's where I work. We offer lots of different activities for students to engage in. Those range from just the gym, and the gym that's included. They don't pay anything additional for it. We have 2 locations. The Cary Street Gym, large facility. It has 4 basketball courts. It has a climbing wall. It has a large fitness center where they can lift weights or run on a treadmill. We have an indoor soccer field where they can play intramural sports. We have racquetball courts. We also have group exercise classes. Students don't pay anything additional. We offer 80 classes a week. That's included as part of their university fee. Those classes include things like yoga, Zumba, hip hop dance, high interval intensity training, and all of those things are free. Intramural sports, students also do not pay anything additional for that. This is actually students playing flag football. So we offer things like flag football, indoor soccer, outdoor soccer, softball, wiffle ball. Esports, we offer those now. So if your students are really into playing Fortnite, that is an esport that we will offer through intramural sports. Clubs. So if your student has a particular passion for a sport or activity like rugby or soccer, or this is water polo, we offer over 35 different sport clubs. Sport clubs are like a middle ground between intramural sports, which is just playing other students on a college campus, and varsity sports, where you play other colleges. So sport clubs, they will play other schools. This is us playing the University of Richmond in water polo. But they are self-organized and self-directed. So if they have a coach, the players are the ones who choose that coach. They have a president who will organize their meetings. But that is a great opportunity for your students if they have a particular interest or passion in something like soccer or swimming, to be able to engage in some of those activities. So I'm going to pull up our website for you just so you can see what that web address is and a little bit about how to explore it. So it's recsports.vcu.edu, and on here, you can see all the different programs we offer, from group exercise, which we've talked about. We have a robust outdoor adventure program. And so we offer free weekly activities that range from a kayak clinic to hikes and things like that. We have a bike shop. We also offer low price trips over the course of a weekend where your student can go on a hike, go caving, go on whitewater rafting trips. So all that's an outdoor adventure. We have 2 swimming facilities, so if that's something of interest to your students. And the most important thing that a lot of parents care about is that we offer quite a few on-campus employment opportunities, which I'll talk a little bit more about how you all can find on-campus employment opportunities for your students. But if your student is into recreation or sport, the RecSports website is a great place for your student to go and sort of navigate the different opportunities that are available to them. Okay. So the next thing to highlight is the University Student Commons and Activities. There's a lot of different organizations that are a part of that. Fraternity and sorority life in Greek Rush will actually start in the upcoming weeks. So if your student is interested in joining a Greek organization, now is the time to do that. Student government also falls underneath of them, and so that's what it sounds like. It's the students who run the Senate and different decision-making bodies for the campus community. They have student leadership programs. They do civic engagement. So if your student is particularly interested in volunteerism or being involved in politics, that's a good opportunity for them. There's the Activity Programming Board, and what they do is they offer large-scale programmatic events for campus community. So as an example is we show movies every Friday night in the Student Commons, and so those movies are oftentimes just out of theaters. And so a lot of Marvel movies and things like that, your student can go to those for quote-unquote free, once again. Those are offered every Friday night in the Student Commons. And then the big thing that most students care about is the student organizations. And so there's over 500 different types. I'm going to highlight a few for you. But the big takeaway from this is Rams Connect. That is the place that your student would need to start to be able to explore all the different options that are available to them in the Student Commons and Activities in different student groups. And so I pulled up the website for you, but once again, it's called Rams Connect. And if your student just searches for VCU Rams Connect, this is what will come up for them and they can log in. There are many different types of organizations. As you can see, there's over 500 of them. They're all grouped in various categories, and I'm going to pull a few of those out for you all here in a moment. But they're able to look through all these and see them, whatever those may be. Also highlight for you all where they can go and get other information. So uscnda.vcu.edu, and on there you'll be able to see fraternity and sorority life, if your student's interested in Rush and when that can occur. But the websites are a great place to start, and the big takeaway from this slide is that Rams Connect, if your student is interested in different organizations, is a good place to go, okay? There is a large event that will be happening this week called SOBO Fair, which is our Student Involvement Fair, and that is part of Weeks of Welcome. And so your student already has that in their schedule. It's already in guidebook, and encouraging your students to go to that is important because it's a great time for them to be able to go and meet face-to-face with all the different student organizations that exist on campus. Okay. So spiritual life. So a lot of students, as they transition to college, and a lot of families, this is something that's really important for the student, is to be able to engage in those activities that have sustained them outside the classroom. And for a lot of students, that is, how can they continue to engage in the spiritual life that their family finds important and that they think are important, and that really helps them to navigate their own existence. And so we have over 35 student organizations that have some relationship to spiritual life. There are many centers of worship that are located within walking distance. And then if those particular organizations aren't of interest to your student, we have different meditation, mindfulness practices that exist throughout campus. There are prayer rooms and meditation spaces that exist in the Student Commons that are available for students that want to engage in either prayer or just meditation. But where I'd like to highlight for you on this slide is being able to take you to the Student Commons, the student groups and different spiritual groups that exist. If you go back to that Rams Connect page and your student clicks on groups, they will be able to search for the various spiritual groups that exist on campus, and they are actually labeled as spiritual. And you can now see the various organizations that exist on campus that are related to that, if that is something of interest to your student or to you for your student. Okay, identity formation. So if your student is coming to campus and they have a particular passion for a cultural identity that they hold sacred or a different type of identity, we have the Office of Multicultural Student Affairs that I'll talk a little bit about and how your student can be involved with them. We also have over 30 cultural clubs on campus and over 15 social justice-based clubs. So once again, I'll open back up that website for us, Rams Connect. And if you navigate through there and you click on cultural, it will pull up all the various cultural organizations that exist. So the African Student Union, the Association of African Graduate Students, the Bangladeshi Student Organization, the Black Graduate Student Association, the Black Student Union, Chinese Student Association. So various social or various cultural identity organizations that exist on campus that are open to any member of the community to join them. So these are important sources of support for students or sources of exploration that we would encourage them to partake of. And then we also have social justice organizations, and those can range from everything from animal activists at VCU to anti-poverty, to organizations for children, to the Queer and or Trans People of Color Collective. So different organizations that are related to social justice organizations. And then the Multicultural Student Affairs Office, they are going to offer lots of different events. They're a great source of support for students of marginalized identities. And so if your student identifies as African American or Latino or any other form of identity, LGBTQI+, they're a great resource for you. They're located in the student commons as well, their offices, and you can see their various programs and initiatives. You can also meet their staff to be able to support your students or explore different cultural identities if that is something that they're interested in while they're here on campus. Okay. Okay, more ways to get involved. So student media, if your student is particularly interested in writing, in broadcasting, and radio, the student media is a great collective on campus, and they offer different opportunities for students to engage in those activities. Some of the students are doing it because they want to be journalism majors. Many of the students are just doing it because they find it as a source of joy in their life. You can learn more about student media, and if you take nothing from this presentation, take this away. If you put VCU and the name of any of these organizations into Google, it's going to pull them up as a website. And that is actually how most people find these. But the VCU Student Media Center, you're able to see what they offer and the different missions. But the Commonwealth Times, there's the student newspapers underneath of them, the radio station is underneath of them, and then different creative outlets are also underneath of them. And if they're interested, all they need to do is click join@studentmedia.com, and it will send an email, and they just express their interest in joining one of the various outlets that exist. And Allison Dyke and her staff who runs that operation, they would be able to assist them with participating in that. And other opportunities for students, if your student is a pre-health major or has a particular interest in student health or those sort of outlets, the peer health educators underneath the well are a good resource for those students. And so what the peer health educators do are they actually do active promotion about living your best life. And so they tend to recruit students who are either HPEX majors, exercise science, or they recruit students who are pre-health majors who want to do this as a profession one day, and this is a way for them to be able to explore that passion on campus. And so they do different programming opportunities for students. So the peer health educators are a great opportunity if your students want to get involved in that way. And then the last thing that I'll highlight is student employment. So student employment is both beneficial for the students from the perspective of being able to gain additional income to support their education, but it's also beneficial for students because it helps to build their resume, and studies have shown that it provides a supportive community for them, especially when they're working on campus, because they'll get to work underneath and with faculty and staff. And so if they go to the Career Services website, it's called Handshake at VCU, and they can click on current students, which I can't do because I'm not a current student, and they just log in with their normal ID, and they'll be able to see all the various jobs that exist for them on campus. And so if they're looking for on-campus employment, Handshake at VCU is the place to start. and they click on current students, and it will take them to all the different employment opportunities that are currently available to them. Okay, so kind of covered a lot right now, but where to go for help. If you're not quite sure where to direct your student, or your student feels like they can't navigate the environment, here are some helpful resources for them. The first one is if they're living on campus, start with the resident advisor. The resident advisors go through 2 weeks of training. They're very well versed on what's available on campus and how to get involved. And so if your student feels like they're just not quite sure if they're making their place on campus, the resident advisor is the best place to start. Rams Connect, that website that we've pulled up a few times, that is also a great resource for your students to be able to go there and to navigate and see what student organizations are available, what are the upcoming events that are available. It's going to have all of those things for them. The RAM Guide, which they've already downloaded, all of your students already have that, and we talked about it during orientation as well. But the RAM Guide is the place that your students will be able to see the weeks of welcome, events and activities, and then other resources that exist on campus for them. So the RAM Guide is just an app on your phone. Go to the App Store, search for RAM Guide, and it will download that for them. The Career Center, which we talked about, Handshake, career advisors are available to students from the day they step foot on campus through graduation. And so many students wait to meet with that career advisor until they're juniors or seniors and they're ready for internships. But really, the Career Center is available for students when they first get here, and the students who are going to be successful, they're going to make those connections early and often. And so they have lots of tools in the Career Center. They can help them to explore, is the major the best fit for them? What are their passions? What should their career be? They can help them with those. Students are required to meet with their academic advisor at least once, but they can meet with them more than that, and we would encourage them to do so, to go ahead and start to map out that educational journey and start to figure out what resources do they need on campus to be successful. So their academic advisor, which they've already met at least once, they can reach out to that person through the Navigate app, and I will pull that up for you all as well. So if you go to studentsuccess.vcu.edu/navigate, your student can see the Navigate app, and this is how they would make any appointments for academic advisors. It's also how they can communicate with the Career Center if they would like. They can explore their major, and all of that is right here on this website, and they can download the app here. We talked a little bit about the Office of Multicultural Student Affairs, but that is also a great resource for students who are just looking for a point of connection on campus, and they can direct students to different opportunities that might make sense for them based upon their desires and their needs. The last one that I would highlight is the WELL. So we talked a little bit about peer health educators and that being an opportunity for students, but they're also getting ready to start what's called health coaching and the resiliency lab. Both of these are free, once again, quote unquote, free to your students. Health coaching is an opportunity for them to meet with a trained individual to talk about what are their goals for themselves as far as health goes. And that can be goals around their mental wellness, goals around their physical wellness, and they can make plans around sleep, around exercise, around eating, and then have some accountability with that individual around how are they going to meet those goals. So that's a good opportunity for students who want to involve themselves with that. And the Resiliency Lab is essentially for students who may not need counseling, but feel like they're dealing with that stress and anxiety that we started out talking about. And so if your student is experiencing non-acute stress or anxiety, the Resiliency Lab is a good place for them to go. And they can provide them with some biofeedback and some different coaching tools around how they can better manage that stress and anxiety. And so the WELL offers those services as well. Okay, so big takeaways before we open it up to questions is what I always try to tell students as they transition to campus is find at least one source of comfort. And so your student has probably engaged in certain activities their entire life that they have found sustaining to them, whether that being going to a church community or participating in a type of sport or activity or playing video games or sewing or whatever that may be. So on campus, there is going to be a group of students who are organized around that same source of comfort, whether it be playing rugby, doing a sewing circle, baking, going to church. So encourage your students to find at least one source of comfort. The second one is find at least one source of challenge. And so maybe there's a group that they've always been interested in exploring, but they haven't had an opportunity to, or there's an activity they wanted to try. Maybe you've always wanted to do yoga, but it was too expensive before. Well, now yoga doesn't cost you anymore to try it. So find one source of challenge for the student, something that they've always wanted to try but haven't been able to. Now's a great time to do that. So the other piece of advice I would say is be involved. It is important that your students find ways to engage on campus, but it's also important that they don't volunteer to be part of every opportunity that's available. So be selective. Find at least that one source of comfort, that one source of challenge, and it can be more than that, depending on what the student needs. But be involved, but be selective. It's okay to try and quit. They can try anything out in these first 6 weeks, and I would encourage them to do that, to try out all the different clubs that they think they might want to be a part of and figure out which ones are for them and which ones aren't. It is okay to try and it's okay to quit. I rushed a fraternity whenever I was a student in my first year, and I lasted 2 weeks and decided it was not for me. That is okay. So the 3 questions that I would say that are good prompts for them as they consider what makes sense for them to continue to be involved in is, does it help prepare for their career? Are they working on campus in a way that helps prepare for their career? Is it an internship or volunteerism or a club or whatever that may be that builds that resume to help with their later career? Does it allow them to explore potential career options that are important to them that they might want to do? Does it help to improve their academics? And so there are those groups that can be a major boon to students as they try to navigate the classroom. And the last one is, does it bring them joy? If they can't answer those 3 questions yes, then quit. It's probably not for them and it's not going to help them in their academic journey. But if they answer yes to those questions, then they should really try to stick with it because it's going to be a positive for them as they go through their 4 years here at BCU. So with that, I think we can open it up to questions.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Derek. So if you have a question, you can either utilize the mic function by unmuting yourself and asking that question out loud, or we also have a chat box that you can enter your question in written form, and we'll take those there as well. So what questions do you have? It looks like we've also been joined by David Greene, who's our director of the University Student Commons and Activities. So if you have any questions related to involvement or the types of things that happen in the Commons or the weeks of welcome, those would be great questions to ask as well.
This is Rachel Burnett. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to thank you. This is very helpful and helps put a parent's mind at ease. I am going to have.
Oh, you cut out on us, Rachel. Hold on just a second. I'm going to unmute you again.
I'm not sure when I cut off, but I'm going to have to leave in about 10 minutes. I just wanted to say thank you. This has been really helpful.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that great feedback.
David, do you have anything you would highlight? We talked about, well, specifically, when is Rush for the Greek organizations? Can you talk through that with some more specificity?
Sure. So for the sororities, for CPC sororities, which is our college Panhellenic sororities, they will start their rush is actually right now is when the women can sign up for that. And that will close next Tuesday. Will be the last time that they'll be able to sign up for what we consider fall recruitment for the sororities. And then they'll do their recruitment on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday of the Labor Day weekend. So that will happen then. For IFC, which is our Interfraternity Council, that will begin this week in a few different ways, but for the most part, they'll be hearing that. And then they'll be able to meet the fraternities and sororities twice. First, they'll be able to meet them this coming Friday at the Student Org Fair. And then on Monday next week, there's also an all-Greek fair. So any student who's interested in any of our different types of councils, and we do have 4, CPC, which is our College Panhellenic, our MPHC, which is our historically Black fraternity and sororities, our IFCs, which is our men's fraternities, and our multicultural Greek council. So they'll be able to meet all of those 36 chapters on Monday.
Can you talk a little bit more about the student organization fair? So I mentioned it, but I didn't give the who, what, when, where, why.
So the student org fair will be this Friday. They'll start at, it will start at 2 o'clock. It will be in the right outside the Commons, so the students will not be able to miss it. There are over 280 different organizations, student clubs and organizations, some of the RecSport clubs that I'm sure Derek has mentioned, as well as a few opportunities with a few of our academic units across the campus that will have tables at this. The students will be able to walk through, be able to meet the student leaders who are leading a lot of these different programs, and then move into deciding whether or not they want to join. And I completely agree with what Derek said. It's okay for them to go in and try or test anything, and then if they feel that it's just not the right fit for them or they're feeling overwhelmed, this is the one situation where we say it's okay to step back or quit for that semester, or if it's not a good fit, just to quit that organization and find something else, or find some different ways to be engaged. For our first 6 weeks of class, we'll have over 200 opportunities for students to find some different tools or be engaged with some different tools. They'll be able to find some different ways that they belong and places that they can find so they can belong and feel connected. And they'll also be able to find a lot of ways that they'll specifically be able to get involved.
Thanks so much, David. Anyone else have any other questions involving the first 6 weeks, or how to get involved, or questions about the gym or RecSports offerings while we have Derek? All right. If there aren't any takers, then I'm going to go ahead and share with you about our next webinar series event. We are going to have another one, and it will be taking place next Tuesday, August 27th at 11 a.m. And it is entitled Adulting and Your Student, You and Your Student's Rights and Responsibilities. And so this is all about your student kind of entering the world of adulthood, having some new rights and responsibilities as both a university student as well as an adult. And this is going to really give you an opportunity to learn how you can navigate some of those limitations that you might have now as a parent or family member when it comes to accessing student information and finding out how things are going with regard to their academics, conduct, etc. So we're going to be joined by Rocky Carmine from Student Conduct and Academic Integrity, as well as Officer Jonathan Wade from VCU Police. And they're going to help us figure out exactly how we navigate those things. Students really don't often get too familiar with student conduct or VCU Police until they're in trouble. And so our goal is to get ahead of that and to help them understand what those resources and services are that those offices can provide. So we hope that you'll tune in with us again next Tuesday at 11 a.m. And we will send out that link via our VCU Families Facebook page, and it will also be posted on our blog and is available currently on our website if you look at the webinars tab at nsfp.vcu.edu. Thanks so much, and we will see you again soon.
Thanks, everyone.
And thanks to our presenters. Appreciate you both.